Okay, in the last question, we ended up with a situation where we wanted to be able to solve this. So, what can we do? How can we factor this? How can we write this as a product? Well, it is a quadratic. So, I know that if I multiply, say, something like this times something like this, what I'd get is this. So let's say I factor this and I get some x minus a for an a and I get some x minus b for a b. What do I know? Well, I know something about a and b. See, the coefficient here is 1 and the coefficient there is 1. I know that negative of a plus b is going to have to be 3. And I also know that a times b is going to be 2. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if a times b is 2, well, this is not 0. So there technically are infinitely many solutions. If a is any number that's not 0, b could be any number that's 1 over that number times 2, and that would give me an appropriate solution. But how many whole number solutions could there be? Well, we could have 1, 2, 2, 1, minus 1, minus 2, and minus 2, minus 1. So maybe one of these 4 would be good. Okay. I know I'm writing a lot. This is probably a little scarier than it needs to be, just because it's the first example. What do I want to take from this? Well, what I want to take from this is we started with a 2. And if we're going to write this as a product, we would want the product of those two numbers, if we write it in this form, we would want the product of those two numbers to be 2. Okay, so it really doesn't also matter which one I write first. So let's say I try putting the 1 first and the 2 first. And I don't know whether there's negatives or positives or what yet. I just write it like this. Okay, what else do I know? Well, I know that this x is going to get multiplied by this 2. And this x is going to get multiplied by this 1. And when I'm done, what I need to have is a 3x. So how could I do that? Well, if this was a minus and this was a minus, then I'd get a minus 2 and a minus 1, so I'd get minus 3. But if this is a plus and this is a plus, what happens here? Well, I would get, when I multiply this out, which is this. And that is my original quadratic here. Quadratic polynomial. So this is correct. And at the point that I know this is correct, my original equation said this equals 0. And we know that's equal to this, so this is equal to 0. So I know that one of these is true. So either x is minus 1 or x is minus 2. Now, if you remember where this came from the problem we did before, which looked like this. And we can see right now that my answer matches. So we really did get the right answer. If you doubted it, though, we wouldn't have to go back to there. We could go up to here and just plug in those numbers, or even go back to here and plug in -1 and -2 to check. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to get a little better at doing this sort of thing. What can I take from this? Well, if I have a quadratic and I have a 1x here, then I could try to write it in this form. And I know that my a and my b are going to need a product equal to the constant term in my quadratic. Let's keep that in mind and try another one of these and see if we can use that to get an answer.